Welcome back to Analogue, a hate story. I am the NerdWife, and now we're gonna figure out what in the shit is going on. My husband is giving me a look because he wants me to stop recording so he can play Hunt Showdown. And to that I say, no. Okay, so what we know so far. Basically, the world is fucked. They live on a spaceship. We are here to investigate the spaceship that disappeared a long time ago. They cracked a girl out of a stasis tube that they called an egg. Everyone's apparently really dumb now. They don't know Korean anymore. The Pale Bride is our AI that we've been talking to, who was 13 and was going to get married off to an emperor. Think that about fills that in. And women are apparently not important at all, and everything is some patriarchy bullshit. Alright, let's see what we got going on. This is pretty much all new to me too. I know you've already read one other log by her, but it looks like she wrote a lot. I had no idea. Just out of curiosity, what do you make of her as a new bride? You've never been a new bride. I don't think it's really weird to be excitedly nervous, isn't it? I think it's cute. Sadly, doesn't seem to last. It looks like her marriage was, well, oh geez, that's not quite as bad as mine was, but I don't envy her, poor woman. I think it's silly because this girl's life is literally only revolving around her husband. It's not bad to be obsessive with your husband, but to have your whole life revolve around just that and pleasing them? Nope. If you're interested in learning more, I've put together a family tree of the Smith family, which should help you keep track of them all. I'm less certain about this one, since, you know, not my family and all. Anyway, I've given you a family tree, and you should just go ahead and show me who you'd like to hear more about. We can go over the logs together. Alright, let's see what she added for us. Oh, just the family tree. So it looks like a much smaller one compared to the other family. I think I sent this one too. Written by mute. I don't know how that got in there. Yeah, don't pay any attention to that. Sorry, none of that really matters. I'll just go ahead and remove that. I'm not normally this much of a clut, I swear. Did she just get rid of something? Okay, so she just deleted a whole block of shit. That's cool. Let's see what we can send out of here. You know that Smith brother who seemed, well, kind of brutish? Well, it turns out that he actually did cross paths with Young Seok. I thought maybe you might be interested in that, so I've just added a log about him written by his wife. Sounds pretty unpleasant. I'll let you get back to what you wanted to talk about now. I just thought it might be something you were interested in. Where did you... Okay. Dearest mother, I could really use your advice. Husband has been working very late into the night recently on some business that he won't even share with me. I understand his reluctance to talk to me about things his superior has sworn him to secrecy on, and that damn child has been keeping me plenty busy anyway, but I still wish he could tell me. Last night he was out even later than normal, and when he finally did return, he had a black eye. His face and hands bloodied. He looked really bad. The sight of that really scared me. Of course, you of all people know that I'm hardly squeamish at the sight of blood. It was how hurt he looked. I hurried him into the kitchen and started to clean his wounds. I'll admit my voice wavered when I asked, "Husband, what happened?" He was reluctant to answer and grunted in pain when I convinced him to put ice on his bruised eye. He finally did, and you absolutely can't repeat what he said to me. Do you understand? Not a word of it to anyone, not even to Father. But I truly need advice. I had some questions for the High Magistrate's office. He sent his brother Smith Sang-Q to answer them. That's the dumb, nasty one. My husband trailed off thinking. I asked him something that he didn't agree with. I had the moral high standing, but he had the physical high standing. His wounds clean, I didn't know what to do but touch the uninjured part of his face to comfort him. Then he joked, but turns out his argument hurt a whole lot worse than mine. But I could tell underneath that he was truly hurt. What do I do, Mother? How is a woman supposed to respond to such an awful thing happening? I've tried to comfort him as best I can, but I just don't know what else I can do, Mother. Please, you must have some advice. I sent that one. To be totally honest with you, I don't really know what she's talking about here at all. The math wasn't really considered very odd at the time. That's women's work, it's just natural. Maybe it's a little weird that she's helping with external matters, but not really that weird. The part about learning to read isn't that amazing either. Might have been officially frowned upon, but learning to read by looking over a brother or husband's shoulder was really, really common. She's making a big deal out of nothing. Well, I guess that's 15-year-old women for you. Okay. Fucking marrying off some 15-year-olds. No. Plaza sounds like a really interesting place, doesn't it? I mean, I wouldn't really know personally, but as I understand it, it was the big place for celebrating festivals and really surprising to see. You'd leave one of the few tiny, modern, stark white corridors that lead to it, and then suddenly there was a huge open space filled with all sorts of colorful signs and vendors. I think proper gentlemen were supposed to be more modest, though, so they wouldn't really want to associate with that sort of thing too openly. Just gonna send all of these real quick so we can get some new logs. I'm really sorry, please don't get mad, but I don't really understand what you're looking for. Maybe I'm not getting it and it's my fault, but I can't find anything that seems relevant. Okay. That's how it always seems to go. It always comes back to me. I don't think Kim Jong-soo ever thought very much of his adopted son, or at least neither he nor his wife thought so. You know what I think, though? I think they're both really dumb. I mean, it's not like I ever did anything. It's not my fault. I just happened to be there, and was married off as a political gesture. It's not like I wanted to. What kind of person projects their insecurities onto someone who only ever got pushed around? Sorry, I'm guessing I'm getting a little bit off track here, but that's not really hopeful, is it? It is. Getting back on track. Let's see if that opened anything new. No. Oh, did we? We did not send this one, no. I never read her letters at the time. I couldn't. I know she read them to me eventually, but I was just numb to that sort of talk at that point. Now they're just hard for me to read. Is she not gonna... Alright. Something you need to keep in mind when reading these. It was considered to be the natural way of things. What do you think? That's stupid. Just absolutely terrible and stupid, but that was normal. So try to keep that in mind. That's what everyone really did believe, even nearly all of the women. And if that sounds terrible to you, well, you must come from an awfully nicer society. That's the end of the Kim family trees. Best as I could possibly manage to compile it. I'm afraid it's the best I could do. Ordinarily, women's names are never put on genealogy, so I had trouble with those. I hope that helps you keep track of the family, though. Disable AI. Let's see what this... Okay, what the hell is going on? Wait, remote connection established. Is there somebody out there from outside the ship? Okay, sorry, I'm just taking an inventory of systems right now. Could you give me a second? I've been out of commission for 622 years. That's kind of messed up. Anyway, I'm up to speed now. Logs are basically saying that nothing has happened since I went offline, except the ship slowly losing power and the main reactor has seen better days. But you, hello, you're the first person from outside the ship that I've had contact with in, well, as far as I can remember. I'm Mute, AI in charge of the Magungwa security operations. Nice to meet you. Looks like I can't actually get any text input from you. I'm guessing this is all that crazy-ass murderess's fault. I'm sorry. But why don't you tell me a bit about yourself anyway? Are you a man or a woman? Wait, hang on. If you're a woman, you can that can understand computers. I mean, the Pale Bride could understand computers too, but she was a psychopath, and I'm not being unfair here. I'm sure you're really smart for a woman. Sorry, just a knee-jerk reaction. Don't think anything of it, okay? Where are you from? Earth, or are you from one of the colonies? Wait, there are colonies, right? I mean, I always got the impression that the ship was supposed to be the founding one. No? My memory only goes back about 300 years before getting deactivated, so I wouldn't really know. Pretty much all my knowledge of anything before the year 0 comes secondhand from the Pale Bride's childhood diaries, and, well, they're about as childish as it possibly gets. Guess I'm not really going to find out more with that line of questioning, though. What else is important that I can ask in binary questions? Do you have a husband? Yes. Is he okay with you being off in deep space, connecting to the computers of strange ships? He sounds like a nice guy. Related to that, I don't really know how much about spaceships or anything, but I can get a visual on yours and it looks really, really small. Is it just you alone there? Yes. Far be it for me to judge or anything, but wow, if I were a married woman, even if he did let me, I sure wouldn't leave my husband all alone while I went off into space. You don't think he's going to be paying attention to other women while you're gone? No. Because I am the greatest good he will ever get. It sounds like you've got negativity to me. Maybe. Hey, it's his call how you run your marriage, not mine. I'm just saying men are a certain way naturally. That's just how it is. I know... If you could, you'd be telling me that it's none of my business. I'm just saying, though. I think that's about all I can think of for now. Just not a lot to go off of, I know, although I did get the most important things. I'll let you know if I think of anything else, alright? Anyway, from what it looks like, you were going over some logs with that crazy murderous bitch. I'd love to help you with those instead. As an added bonus, I promise I won't ever commit mass murder unlike a certain someone. Shit's gonna get fucked up soon. I can feel it. Oh, she added page. Okay, yeah, so here's what a family tree is supposed to look like. None of those weird cluttered messes that UN AE did, but I don't know. Here's a few notes of my own about some of the women that you might actually care about. Older sister of the main Smith branch, married into Huang family in 285, widowed in 314, taken in by a younger Huang brother in 317, no sons. Married to Smith Sang-min in 310, no sons or daughters of her own. Jang-mi, courtesan, purchased by and married Smith Sang-min in 313, no sons. Wait. Oh, so dude had multiple wives at one time. That's cool. Entertain, thanks, no sons or daughters. Smith Sang-min's daughter by courtesan Jang-mi. Promised to Park family, but not formally married. Okay, so what did... What a complete and utter misrepresentation. In case it wasn't obvious, that's a completely liberal and messed up translation. Yes, it's a common phrase, but that's not what it means. What it really means is just male superiority. That's all. Fine. It's a cliche that kind of states the obvious. So what? I don't know where she's pulling this women are based nonsense from. It's stupid. Now can I pull up block 6 again? No. Do I need to like resend all of these to get anything new? It's from before I knew her. It's hard to imagine her as a blushing newlywed. She was an awfully good friend of mine. We chatted a lot. You have to understand, though, she might not have been a very good wife. It's absolutely not her fault. It's not like what I reported to my mistress, Ryu Jaihua. None of the problems in her marriage were her own fault. She was just the wife of a lousy man, plain and simple. Mostly she tried to do the best she could. I don't want you looking down on her, understand? Okay. Did I read this one? Oh, no I didn't. I cannot believe just 2 years ago I was actually excited about moving into the Smith home with my husband. Oh, how shortly that lasted. I find it funny the first time I realized that I would have to compete for his affections with every common woman and every courtesan he came across. I was so shocked. For the first time he brought one home, I cried for a week, and mother-in-law was furious with me, claiming it was my fault for not being enough for him. Now I realize the insanity of her reasoning, as if she wouldn't have already known her son was simply that sort of man. The only person who had any right to be shocked was me. Still, I struggle for his attention, but now it is all but banal. If the truth is to be told, this is something that I would not tell mother-in-law, nor least of all my husband. I do not even fight for his affections for his own sake. That is pure selfishness on my part. All I wish is for some indicator that it isn't as though I'm unattractive, that it isn't as though I'm unlikable. Any affection he gets is simply an attempt at fishing that affirmation out of him, nothing more. For the past 2 months, ever since it became impossible to hide that she was with child, Jang-mi has been living in our house and no visitors have been allowed to come in. It has created an incredibly awkward state of affairs. I can hardly stand to be in the same room with that courtesan, let alone live with her. Until recently, so few words we exchanged, I did not even know her name until the 3rd week of her living here. My husband made me agree to go along with the fiction that the child is mine, which, well, I've yet to give him one myself, so if that is how I'm to make up for it, then that is what I'll do. I thought it was going to be hard to keep up that pretense to pretend that this child was my own while the real mother lives under the same roof, yet apparently not. As it turns out, the whole charade has been for absolutely nothing. After all, the child turned out to be a girl. Of course, I'm sure Jang-mi is quite happy since she's already been bought out, in the hopes that we could pretend her son was mine, but an illegitimate daughter, well, who cares? It would almost be funny if not for the fact that it means I will have to live with that constant reminder of how little my husband cares for me. Almost, but not really. Well, as High Magistrate, he was one of the highest-ranking officials until just before the end. I don't want to paint a misleading portrait, as I understand he was a very just man and performed his function quite well. It was politics that caught up to him in the end. It's like I reported to my mistress. He might have been a good magistrate, but his family conduct was less than the pinnacle of virtue. How many wives a man takes is no business but his own. He never did anything illegal, but knocking up courtesans owned by the court, that's just bad politics. And just completely unfair for his primary wife. Can you imagine? So that's why he lost his position. Years of embarrassment in the family finally culminated in him turning into a real liability for the emperor. But it wasn't always like that. Let me try to paint an even portrait of him for you. I've added an assortment of logs about him. I hope this gives it a good idea of what I mean. Did I? Yes, I did. Okay. A transcription fragment of a conversation held with Smithsing Jung. Oh, that was how I knew shit had gotten serious. He actually agreed to let me pick the drinking house we went to. My oldest brother only ever humors me when he's really trying to get on my good side. It is never a good sign. Well, I mean, it's good for me, but certainly not for him. I'm sure a classy lady such as yourself wouldn't be familiar with this kind of place. No, you know the sort, tucked away in an interior deck, lots of wooden furniture that's been stained, and not intentionally, with just enough commoners milling about to give it a good background soundtrack. Oh, and it's run by a woman. Nice lady, too. So, it's that sort of place. We arranged to meet at the door. It's been a while, brother. I'm sorry I couldn't speak to you sooner, he said, trying to be polite. You're full of shit, I said, but hey, it is good to see you, so what do you want? I meant it, he said. He's a bad, bad liar, so why are we here anyway? At that point, the owner came by, asking what we'd like. The only real thing you need to know about Jin is that she's around my age. She's got the biggest tits I've ever seen in my life, and she dresses like a commoner. So you can certainly see them. Oh, he said, fair enough. Bring your finest soju, I ordered. Please, she responded, you can't afford our finest. Totally not true, by the way. My reputation for being a cheap drunk, completely unfounded. Honest, I have no idea where people get these crazy ideas from. Anyway, far be it from me to argue. I just reply, maybe not, but my brother can. I mean, I knew he was going to ask me for money. That was obvious. Might as well get as much as I could out of him before giving him whatever he wanted, right? Fine, we'll be sharing that, he said. Then he added, but how much to share it with you two? She blushed. Amazing, really. She's got a lot of practice dealing with people like my brother. But I saved her the misery of having to flirt back with him. Do you really need more of that kind of trouble right now? With that, he let her go. Anyway, drinks came. We argued about the loose definition of finest, our server's tits, and the good old days when Father was still alive and we didn't have to work out our problems ourselves. The biggest bullshit ever, I said, is that we're expected to be responsible men here. How'd that happen? He laughed, and was now drunk enough to start taking cheap shots. Is that why you've never bothered to be one? Ouch, I said. Damn it, hurry up and pour me more. I'll drink to that. He poured but didn't say anything. All right, so what is it that you want? I'm getting the impression that you have a problem, and you want your brother, and you want discretion because you're talking to me, right, brother? I was right. So where did you put it this time, brother? I asked. Put what? He replied. Oh, cut the shit. We both know full well that all your problems in life have, always, without fail, stemmed from you putting your dick somewhere you shouldn't have. He grunted in disagreement, but it's totally true. Was it at least a female this time? Swear to my father, brother was right about to punch me. Didn't, though. Instead, he just downed his drink. Yeah, that's the damn problem, he said. She's saying she hasn't bled in 2 months now. A courtesan. I promised him I'd help. She'd better get bought out by me. Better she get bought out than by my brother, the High Magistrate. Less suspicious that way, and involves nothing unlawful. Believe me now, a proper damn gentleman, that's me. That kind of story was definitely pretty common for him, part where he cleaned up after his family's mess, I mean, not the details about the immoral-looking common women. And the drinking. That part he had good cause for. Sure, it was his room, but you can't blame a man for that. I mean, the stuff he had to put up with. If your husband had it like that, I'm sure he'd do the same. It wasn't all that bad, really. We'd spent a lot of evenings drinking together, talking long into the night. Well, he would anyway. Obviously, not really so much drinking on my part. He was the kind of man who'd still pour a glass for you all the same. So that whole sarcastic thing about him being a for a gentleman, it's not sarcastic. He really was. Well, he was being sarcastic, but still. He totally, absolutely was the best damn gentleman around. I read that one. I'm sorry about our last conversation, alright? It's like I said to you before, you just caught me at a really bad time. Sojin was kept in bed rest on strict doctor's orders. I'm sorry that you brought your wife all the way to get turned away like that. So when I told Sojin that you had given her well wishes on her pregnancy, she was happy but sad she couldn't see you herself. Our child was just born last week, a daughter. We decided to name her Minhee, and Sojin is recovering well. The doctors said that it would be fine for her to see visitors next week. I'm sorry you got angry. If your wife still wants to see mine or the child or my mother, by all means, you're welcome to visit. I really hope there's no hard feelings, Uncle. I think I didn't read this one. You can probably put this more diplomatically than I can, because I'm pretty sure your younger brother is still thoroughly pissed off at me. You know how he is, of course. I don't really have the time to deal with that, especially when I'm already doing him a huge favor. The bad news is, I made an appeal to the captain and Emperor himself personally, but he said there was no position that a man of Sankyu's skill set could possibly fulfill. Wait. Oh, I did read that one. I know it sounds like he's being harsh on his brother, but I assure you his characterization isn't wrong. I honestly kind of tended to avoid him. I was friends with his older brother's wife, and his younger brother was an absolute gentleman, but he was not a nice man. He was the sort of person that the court exams were supposed to keep out in theory. Didn't work, of course. He studied just as well as his brother, or Sang Jun told me. Here, you want to see the usual sort of behavior to get from Smith Sang-kyu? You've read a log by the Kim's son about getting roughed up. Well, that's him, all right. You know, what's... So it sounds like she was actually a living person too, and also is now an AI. I've been a clerk for a little while, and it's not as if I haven't heard all the stories about High Magistrate Smith Sang-min and his legendary temper. But I always figured they were an exaggeration, especially after I met him for the first time. The man seemed like an absolute model of a gentleman, and rather calm and unemotional. I'm not criticizing him, I just never imagined that man getting angry. Well, it was an official was presenting the facts of a murder case to him, a drunken brawl between peasants gone horribly wrong. It all seemed satisfactory enough. A dozen men had seen it. There wasn't really any doubt about it. So far, so good. Very well, the High Magistrate said. Let me read the confession, and then before I pass the sentence. God, I'm getting really tongue-twisted. The official didn't have one, which is reasonable enough. A lot of times they can't get it out of them, and I've never seen a magistrate who's really all too concerned about those little details. Excuse me, you don't have a confession, he said, and his mood soured right there. Why are you wasting my time then? He looked at the accused, who had been kowtowing silently up until that point. Do you even admit to killing him? The murderer seemed confused, and it took a minute to realize he was being addressed. Furthermore, when he did figure it out, he simply kept muttering, "Not my fault, wasn't my fault," and the such. The High Magistrate was furious. What is wrong with you? What is this man doing in front of me in a state like that? He doesn't admit to doing it. What do you expect me to do? He demanded. After some silence from the official, he continued. It wasn't a rhetorical question. Please, enlighten me. What do you expect me to do here? To punish him? The official offered weakly, as confused about the matter as I was. Punish him? This was what sent him completely off the edge. He stood up shouting, "We are not given the responsibility of punishment. What are we, barbarians looking for vengeance? The point of justice is to teach immoral men like him the error of their ways," he lectured, shouting at the top of his lungs. "And how do you expect to do that with a man who won't even admit his own actions? Does this man look like he's ready to learn? Do you seriously believe that? Are you simple?" The official looked as though he was about to argue, but then thought against it. Smart move. The High Magistrate continued more calmly. Now stop wasting my time and get him out of my office. Come back when you have a confession and a clue as to what your job actually entails. And with that, he left, leaving the official speechless, and leaving me realizing that perhaps a legendary temper and being a model gentleman weren't quite so mutually exclusive as I had thought. See, he wasn't always that bad. He was an embarrassment and far from a pinnacle of virtue. I didn't think that highly of him, but at the end of the day, it was about politics, not about his character. Okay, I'm going to end it there because that was a lot, and I'm just getting more and more tongue-tied as I go on. So we will continue to figure out what the fuck is going on and how these two people that used to be people are now AIs, and what the hell happened to Block 6, because now I really want to know why she deleted that one and why she's considered a murderer. Alright, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!